Chapter 111. The next moment, a flame seemed to gather under the palm she placed on the door, burning wildly. In an instant, the flame seemed to have spread from her palm to her entire body. The scorching heat surrounded her in an instant. Every inch of her body felt as if it had been burned by a raging fire. Her internal organs felt as if they were being gripped tightly by something, and the pain pierced her heart. Chu Luiyue was shocked and furious. This flame was actually trying to kill her. She wanted to retreat, but she realized that she couldn't move at all. It was as if her entire body was being controlled. The flame had already rapidly burned through her limbs and bones, heading for her dantian. That biting cold and terrifying murderous intent made Chu Luiyue's hair stand on end. The dantian was the most important part of a cultivator. Once it was damaged, one would never be able to cultivate for the rest of their lives. This thing was actually here for this. However, just as the powerful force was about to enter her dantian, the water droplet that had been quietly floating in Chu Luiyue's dantian suddenly started spinning rapidly. Boom! An invisible suppressive force shot out from Chu Luiyue's body and went straight for him. Chu Luiyue could even clearly feel the two forces colliding fiercely, and the terrifying force spread throughout her body. At this moment, Chu Luiyue felt as if there was lava bursting in her body, and there wasn't a single part of her body that wasn't painful. Fortunately, the force that burst forth from the water droplet was extremely strong, and it almost destroyed the force that wanted to kill Chu Luiyue. Only then did the terrifying pain gradually dissipate. However, Chu Luiyue didn't dare to relax. Her eyes were fixed on the picture on the door. When she looked, she realized that the eagle's eyes were already closed. It was as if everything that had just happened had never happened. Chu Luiyue gradually clenched her fists tightly. No, that definitely wasn't an illusion. If not for the power of the water droplet, she would probably have been a dead person by now. She never would have thought that she would be on the brink of death before even entering Jiuyou Tower. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Seeing Chu Luiyue standing in front of the door without moving, the old man asked doubtfully. Chu Luiyue turned around to take a look. The old man and the people around him didn't seem to have noticed what had happened in that instant. Her mind raced as she shook her head. Nothing. After saying that, she didn't stay any longer and walked in. Jiuyou Tower had a total of 9 floors. The space inside was very spacious, and there were many partitioned rooms. The people who had come in earlier had already familiarized themselves with the place and were heading towards the rooms that they liked to cultivate in. Right in the middle was a spiral staircase, obviously leading to the top. Some people didn't stop at the first floor, but instead went straight up. In Jiuyou Tower, the higher the floor, the denser the force. However, each layer was separated by a barrier. Anyone who wanted to enter the higher floors to cultivate would have to pass through the barrier, and this depended on one's own ability. Generally, low-level students could only cultivate on the first floor. Chu Luiyue wasn't in a hurry to choose a room to cultivate in. Instead, she stood still and lowered her head to look at her palm. A charred mark could be clearly seen. She had placed her hand on the door just now. That terrifying flame had also entered her body through her palm. This burn mark was the best proof of what had just happened. But why did this happen? There was clearly no problem for other students to enter Jiuyou Tower. Why did this happen to her alone? Why did that eagle suddenly open its eyes and have such a strong murderous intent toward her? Perhaps that murderous intent wasn't directed at her, but at the water droplet in her dantian. Chu Luiyue furrowed her brows, but she didn't have an answer. Chu Luiyue, haven't you chosen a room yet? A voice suddenly sounded from behind her. Chu Luiyue turned around and saw an unfamiliar girl's face. That girl was pretty, and her almond-shaped eyes were extremely cute. She raised her hand and pointed to the side. Actually, there isn't much difference between the rooms on the first floor. You could just choose one to cultivate in. However, the names that appear on the door are signs that someone has already entered. You could just choose those that are empty. Chu Luiyue nodded. Thank you. That girl grinned. What's there to thank me for? My name is Mu Hongyu. You could just call me Hongyu. Chu Luiyue couldn't help but laugh. So this girl was a sociable person. She quite liked her character. However, she didn't know her, so why did she seem so friendly? Okay, you can call me Lu Yu then. Mu Hongyu sized up Chu Liwei curiously. You're really different from the rumors. Chu Liwei didn't need to ask to guess what those so-called rumors said about her, but she wasn't interested in asking. Others can't wait to avoid me. Why are you taking the initiative to help me? Mu Hongyu snorted. You taught Chu Xiamen a lesson, so I'm naturally on your side. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Chu Liwei was amused. She felt that this girl was purposely helping her because she had a grudge against Chu Xiamen. However, she also agreed with what she said. I'm not talking to you anymore. I still have to go up and cultivate. After Mu Hongyu finished speaking, she simply turned around and walked upstairs. Chu Liwei originally wanted to go up, but she hesitated when she thought of what had just happened. She still chose to stay on the first floor. Chu Liwei roughly looked around and realized that the layout of every room was almost the same. In the end, she chose a very secluded spot and went in. After closing the door and isolating herself from all kinds of gazes, Chu Liwei sat cross-legged on the stone platform in the room. She wasn't in a hurry to cultivate. Instead, she looked at the burn mark on her palm again. However, it still seemed to hurt slightly. Chu Liwei fell into deep thought. Jiu Tower was the most important place in Tianlu Academy. It was also the foundation of the academy. If anything happened, the teachers in the academy would definitely not sit back and do nothing. However, that elder was so close to her just now, but he didn't seem to have noticed anything. Chu Liwei couldn't guarantee that no one else knew about this, but the most important thing now was to figure out why Jiu Tower was targeting her. Or rather, it was targeting the water droplet in her body. Where exactly did you come from? How did you get into so much trouble? Chu Liwei asked in her heart. However, the water droplet didn't move. It's my first time here, so it's scary but not dangerous. However, this won't happen again in the future, right? Chu Liu's eyelids twitched. If this happens every day, I don't need to come to Jiu Tower anymore. Isn't it troublesome enough? This time, the water droplet trembled slightly, and a line of words finally appeared. What's there to fear from a mere evil creature? Evil creature? Chu Liwei was stunned for a while, and a chill rose from the bottom of her feet. You mean that there's a fiend in Jiu Tower? How is this possible? Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 112. Below Jiu Tower was a pit of heavenly origins. It was because of this that the heaven and earth force in the tower was so abundant. To cultivators, this was a good place to quickly improve their cultivation. But to fiends, it was the opposite. The pit of heavenly origins was a natural force treasure trove. It contained rich heaven and earth force, but it was also mixed with many impurities. If one absorbed too much, it would cause harm to the cultivator's body. If it was light, it would damage one's yuan meridian, and if it was heavy, it would cause death. Cultivators could use all kinds of methods to expel these impurities, but fiends could not. Moreover, fiends were mostly cruel and vicious, so the pit of heavenly origins had a greater impact on them. If they stayed for too long, they would easily lose their minds and eventually go berserk. They might even explode and die. Jiu Tower was built above the pit of heavenly origins. How could there be fiends here? The words on the water droplet dissipated quickly. It had no intention of explaining. Chu Liwei frowned. Although this statement was absurd, she inexplicably believed it in her heart. When the eagle opened its eyes, she was very sure that it was the aura of a fiend. But why did the academy do this? Whether it was to the fiends or the students cultivating in the tower, this was a great hidden danger. And as the dean, did Master know about this? Prince Li's mansion. Seeing that his master had finally returned, Umo hurriedly went to welcome him. Master, you're back. Rongxiu nodded, looking relaxed. Umo saw the faint smile at the corner of his mouth and was surprised. As long as he stayed with that person for a period of time, his master's mood would always improve. He really had to give it to him. Looks like Master had a good night's rest. Rongxiu raised his eyebrows. Was the mansion still lively yesterday? UMO bowed. Yes, the other party sent another group of people. They wanted to break into your bedroom to find out what was going on, but we took them down. Still suicide soldiers? Yes, they were the same as the people who came 2 days ago. They didn't care about their lives. Seeing that they couldn't break in, they wanted to commit suicide by taking poison. However, one of them didn't die and is now locked up. Yin Qing interrogated him all night and used a lot of tricks. Finally, that person spat out something. Rong Xiu stopped in his tracks. Oh, you. Mo lowered his voice. It's the Crown Prince's men. Rong Xiu smiled. After so many years, it's still the same trick. He's not tired, but I'm tired. Mo asked hesitantly. Master, what do you think of this person? Is third Imperial brother still in the Imperial capital? Rong Xiu suddenly asked. Yes. His Majesty said that His Highness, the third prince, had been fighting at the border for many years and had suffered a lot. Now that there is no war and the third prince has reached the age to marry and have children, His Majesty's intention is to let the third prince stay in the Imperial capital. Rong Xiu chuckled. Rong Xiu had made great contributions in the Northwest Army, and his reputation was at its peak. How could father be at ease and let him go back? Staying in the Imperial capital was the safest option. I've been back for a long time, but I haven't visited third Imperial brother. Tell Yin Qing to bring him along. I'll give third Imperial brother a big gift. Yes. Rong Xiu joined the army at a young age and was always outside. In the past, he would only stay in the palace for a few days before leaving. However, when he came back this time, Emperor Jiawen said that he was old enough to stay in the palace. Hence, he specially prepared a mansion for him outside the palace. The size of this mansion was actually similar to Rong Xiu's princely mansion. However, the decree to confer him a prince had not been passed down. Rong Xiu originally had some hope, but after waiting day after day, Emperor Jiawen repeatedly refused to let him go back. Hence, he understood what was going on. Conferring him a prince was a small matter. Trapping him in the imperial capital was a big matter. The Northwest Army kept inviting him back, but Rong Xiu knew that it would be difficult this time. After thinking this through, he calmed down and continued to stay in the imperial capital as if he didn't notice the emperor's fear at all. In the backyard, Rong Xiu and Rong Feng were sparring. The two of them exchanged blows with each other. Rong Feng was quite talented, and he had been diligently cultivating with the teachers in the palace. He was only 15 years old, but he was already a stage 3 warrior. However, compared to Rong Xiu, who had been on the battlefield for a long time, he was still inexperienced. After 10 rounds, Rong Xiu found an opportunity to stab Rong Feng with his spear and easily sent Rong Feng's sword flying. Rong Feng looked at the sword that fell to the ground and smiled bitterly. Third brother, can't you go easy on me? It's so boring every time. Rong Xiu twirled his spear. Who would go easy on you on the battlefield? Rong Feng was speechless, but he immediately shrugged and smiled proudly. I know you're doing this for my own good. Third brother, those people in the palace tiptoe around me every time I fight. It's so annoying. Rong Xiu's lips twitched. Then, why don't you go to Tianlu Academy? The teachers there won't be like this. The Crown Prince is there. I don't want to go. Rong Feng rolled his eyes. I've been compared to him since I was young. Isn't it annoying? Upon hearing this, Rong Xiu looked at him fixedly. So, you've been hiding your abilities and pretending that you're not as good as him? Who dares to be more outstanding than the Crown Prince? Isn't that finding trouble for myself? I'm not that bored. Rong Feng threw himself onto the rattan chair at the side. Didn't you see that seventh brother hasn't returned to the Imperial City for 10 years? Just because he was conferred the title of prince, he got himself into so much trouble. Third brother, I think you're a thorn in his side, even in the Imperial City. Rong Xiu was about to speak when he suddenly saw his trusted aide walking over quickly. Third prince, someone from Princely Mansion said that Princely has a gift for you. It's already outside the door. Gift? Bring it in. Rong Feng followed closely behind, looking curious. Third brother, what gift did seventh brother give you? Isn't your birthday still early? Rong Xiu didn't say anything, but he was thinking in his heart. Very quickly, a wooden box was carried in. Rongju narrowed his eyes, turned his wrist, and stabbed his spear out. The wooden box opened. A thick smell of blood assaulted his nostrils. Inside the wooden box was a person covered in wounds and blood. His entire body was twisted into a strange position and stuffed into the wooden box. Just one look was enough to make one shiver. Rong Feng gasped. He had never seen such a scene before. His expression changed drastically, and he started retching. Rongju looked at him and frowned. "Third brother, this is a dead person?" Rong Feng said with difficulty. "Why did seventh brother give you this?" The person beside him reminded him, "His Highness isn't dead yet." "Your Highness, this person is not dead yet. He just fainted from excessive blood loss." Rongju stepped forward. "Third brother, don't go over." Rongju flicked his spear, and something flew out. It was a small seal. Rongju picked up the seal and looked at it carefully. His expression changed slightly. He thought for a moment. "Lock this person up and keep him alive. We can't let him die." Then he turned around and left. Upon seeing this, Rong Feng hurriedly followed. "Third brother, where are you going?" Rongju didn't look back. Since Rongxiu had given him such a big gift, he naturally had to accept it. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 113. 3 days passed quickly, and it was Chu Liyue's wedding day in the blink of an eye. However, other than her own residence that was slightly decorated, the rest of the Chu family did not have the slightest bit of festive spirit. In the past, when the residents held a wedding, the servants would fight to be the first to do the work. On one hand, they wanted to leave a good impression in front of their masters, and on the other hand, they wanted to get more money. However, Chu Xiamin's courtyard was cold and cheerless. Only a few servants, who usually served her here, were busy with work. If not for the fact that they could not avoid it, they would not have come. The entire residence knew that although Chu Xianmin was marrying into the Crown Prince Mansion, she was only marrying into the Crown Prince Mansion as a concubine. It was not presentable. Because of this, the first elder did not even prepare any dowry for her. It was obvious that this wedding was not a joyous occasion. A few servants discussed softly as they packed up. "With third Missy status, I thought she would marry into the Crown Prince Consort. I didn't expect her to be a concubine. Where's our Chu family's face?" That's right. The Chu family's life has not been good these few years. Now that the first Missy is marrying into the Crown Prince Consort's life, we are a joke for no reason. Third Missy used to be so glamorous, but many people are laughing at her now. Who can be blamed for that? Third Missy's face is disfigured, and she has to wear a veil wherever she goes. Besides, her reputation is long gone. Even if she is willing to marry, no one will want her. Where can she go other than the Crown Prince Mansion? Shoo, she's coming out. The door was pushed open, and Chu Xianmin walked out with the help of someone. The servants in the courtyard immediately stopped talking, but their eyes kept sizing her up. She was wearing a red wedding dress and a veil, but she did not wear a phoenix coronet. She only wore a golden jade hairpin from the Crown Prince Mansion. It was not that she did not want to dress up, but the rules were as such. Only the first wife had the right to wear a phoenix coronet. For someone like her who entered the Crown Prince Mansion as a concubine, she had to dress simply. Chu Xianmin walked out of the room, and the courtyard was cold and empty. Other than her original servants, there was no one else who came to celebrate. It's good that they didn't come. Wasn't he just making fun of her by coming at this time? Chu Xianmin clenched her teeth and dug her nails deep into her palms to suppress the anger and indignation in her heart. It's so quiet. Is a crown prince not here yet? Why didn't I hear any gongs or drums? Asked Chu Xianmin as she suppressed her anger. Those people in a crown prince's residence were really something. In the past, they used to curry favor with her. Now that she was in dire straits, they even dared to neglect her wedding. Everyone looked at each other. Lu Yao stood at the side with a stiff expression on her face. She had actually forgotten to tell Min Min that the crown prince did not need to personally come over to welcome this marriage. At this moment, someone walked over quickly. Isn't it already packed? Why aren't you leaving yet? The sedan chair is already waiting outside. Third Miss Chu, please come in. This man looked familiar to Chu Xianmin. He was just a normal guard in the Crown Prince mansion. He used to bow and scrape when he saw her, but he dared to speak with a straight back in front of her now. But that wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was, "You, what do you mean? The Crown Prince is not coming." Chu Xianmin widened her eyes. Lu Yao pulled her and whispered, "Min Min, don't worry. According to the rules, there's nothing wrong with this." Chu Xianmin finally recovered her senses. The Crown Prince would not even come to her so-called wedding. He would just send someone over casually. That guard smiled with a hint of mockery on his face. "Third Miss Chu, His Highness is busy with work. How can he have the time for such a small matter?" Small matter. He actually said that the most important thing in a woman's life was a small matter. Chu Xiamin had fantasized about marrying into the Crown Prince mansion countless times. It should be colorful and grand. It should not be as simple and disgusting as it was now. It was only at this moment that she realized that she was a concubine. Chu Xianmin did not know how she suppressed the surging emotions in her heart. She also did not know how she walked to the sedan chair outside the door. Only when she reached the Crown Prince Mansion's door did she finally recover her senses. She lifted the curtain at the side and looked outside. The Crown Prince Mansion's door was tightly shut. It did not look like a wedding was going to be held. Yes, she could only enter through the small door. A strong sense of humiliation welled up in her heart. Chu Xianmin was born to be favored by the heavens. She had been the object of envy for so many years. Would she ever been so lowly? Her hatred for Chu Luiyue increased by another level. The servant brought her to a yard in the backyard of the Crown Prince Mansion. Tingfeng Garden will be your residence in the future. The Crown Prince has something important to do today, so he won't be able to come. You can wait here for now. After saying this, the person who brought her here turned around and left. Chu Xianmin took a look and saw a few servants and page boys standing outside. They must have been sent to serve her. She was extremely aggrieved at this point, so she could not care about them. There was only one way left for her now. No matter what, she had to win the Crown Prince's favor. Chu Xianmin waited for an entire day. It wasn't until night fell that the courtyard suddenly became lively. "Greetings, Your Highness." Hearing this voice, Chu Xianmin hurriedly stood up to welcome him. Rongjin had already pushed the door open and entered. "Your Highness, you're finally here." After the previous incident, Rongjin disliked Chu Xianmin. Now that he was forced to marry her under his father's pressure, he did not even want to see her face. Hence, he was busy the entire day and only came at night. As soon as he entered, he saw a familiar figure. Chu Xianmin was wearing a red wedding dress and stood there prettily. The warm and dim candlelight in the room enveloped her in a layer of hazy light, which added a rare charm to her. Even though she was not dressed to the nines today, the cut of the wedding dress was appropriate, outlining her exquisite and slender figure. Her slender waist could be held with one arm. Rongjin looked at her and squinted his eyes. Chu Xianmin was indeed beautiful without mentioning anything else. The red veil covered her face, revealing only a pair of timid and sparkling eyes. They were especially seductive. Rongjin walked toward her, and his voice became much gentler. "There were too many things today, and I couldn't get away. That's why I'm late. Minmin, you won't blame me, right?" "Why would I? Your Highness's matters are the most important. I'm already very happy that you still care about me," said Chu Xianmin with a smile. But her eyes were filled with tears, making her look pitiful. This time, Rongjin's heart ached even more. He gently touched her shoulder with one hand and was a little tempted. As he spoke, he wanted to pull her veil. Minmin, Chu Xianmin did not expect him to be so direct. She immediately wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Rongjin had already seen the scarlet and scary scar on her face. Your face." As if he had seen something terrifying, he quickly retreated, and the ambiguity just now disappeared in an instant. Chu Xianmin seemed to have been slapped harshly. When she hurriedly put on the veil and wanted to explain herself, Song Yuan's anxious voice suddenly came from outside. "Your Highness, Her Majesty urgently summons you." Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from the Love Network. Chapter 114. Upon hearing this, Rongjin heaved a sigh of relief. Why, you should rest today. I'll come and see you another day. Then, without waiting for Chu Xianmin's reply, he turned around and left quickly. Your Highness! Chu Xianmin was flustered and instinctively wanted to follow him to explain. However, Rongjin suddenly turned around and frowned. All right, don't go out and show your face if you have nothing to do. You can still go to the academy, but your face, you should wear your veil. Then, he hurriedly left, as if there was a ferocious beast chasing after him. Once he thought of that frightening face, he felt his stomach churn. To think that I actually thought she was beautiful just now. How disgusting. Rongjin's figure quickly disappeared, and only Chu Xianmin was left in the room. She stood there in a daze and laughed softly after a long time. However, there was only coldness and hatred left in her laughter. It's already so late. Why did father suddenly summon me? What happened? Rongjin asked Song Yuan as he walked out of Ting Feng Garden quickly. Your Highness, I don't know either. Eunuch Min came personally. It seems like it's urgent. As he spoke, Rongjin looked up and indeed saw Eunuch Min's figure. He was even more confused. What exactly happened that made Eunuch Min come so late? Eunuch Min anxiously paced back and forth. When he saw Rongjin from afar, he immediately went forward. Io, Your Highness, you're finally out. His Majesty is waiting for you. Let's go quickly. Rongjin knitted his brows. Why the rush? Eunuch Min, what exactly happened? Your Highness, I don't know about this either. It's just that the third prince went to the palace in the afternoon and talked to His Majesty in the Imperial study for a long time. After the third prince left, His Majesty ordered you to quickly enter the palace. Eunuch Min hesitated and touched the horsetail whisk in his arms. Your Highness, there's something I need to tell you. His Majesty is in a fit of anger right now. When you arrive, you must be careful. Angry? Rongjin knitted his brows even tighter. Is it related to Rongjio? However, I didn't have much contact with Rongjio during this period. Why is it related to him? Thank you. Eunuch Min, Rongjin did not ask further and entered the palace with Eunuch Min. The midsummer night was especially hot. Rongjin was drenched in sweat when he rushed to the Imperial study. However, when he entered and saw his father's cold expression, his heart instantly turned cold. Imperial father, Emperor Jiawen, suddenly raised his hand and threw the inkstone on the table at Rongjin. Rongjin didn't dare to dodge and took it head-on. A wound immediately appeared on his forehead, and blood gushed out. He knew something was wrong and immediately knelt down. Imperial father, if you want to teach this son a lesson, this son will accept it. But can you tell me why exactly? Don't you know what you've done? Emperor Jiawen rudely interrupted him, and his face turned green. This was Rongjin's first time seeing him like this, and his heart kept sinking. What was going on? Rongjin, you're already the crown prince. Why are you still doing this to your brothers? Are you really that intolerant of others? Emperor Jiawen hollered. Rongjin suddenly recovered his senses and was shocked. Could it be that Imperial father knows that I sent someone to investigate Rongjio? I know that Rongjio has many military achievements and can go against you. You don't like him, but he's your brother after all, and you're already the crown prince. How can you still be so narrow-minded? Rongjin was dazed. Rongjio? That's not right. The people I sent were clearly Imperial father. I didn't. You still dare to deny it. Your men have already been detained by Rongjio. Rongjin's remaining words were stuck in his throat, and he couldn't say them. If it weren't for the fact that he's been in the military for many years and is alert enough, I don't even know if he's dead or alive. Emperor Jiawen sighed heavily. You disappoint me too much. Rongjin felt as if he was struck by lightning, and his heart was in turmoil. That's not right. My men went for Rongjio and didn't do anything to Rongjio. There must be a problem here. He was indeed afraid of Rongjio, but he didn't even want to do anything. This was because he clearly knew that Rongjio's military achievements overshadowed the emperor's, and his father had long had this thought. His father made him stay in the Imperial city for so long because he wanted to weaken Rongjio's control over the Northwest Army. I could just sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Why would I find trouble for no reason? Could it be that Rongxiu and Rongjiu teamed up? Thinking of this, Rongjin's face was especially ugly. In Emperor Jiawen's eyes, this change in expression naturally meant that Rongjin admitted to it. Brothers killing each other. You've really grown up. Rongjin couldn't refute or say a single word. Since Rongjiu dared to come here to complain, he must have solid evidence. If he denied it and continued investigating, it would only bring him trouble. Besides, he couldn't say that he originally went for Rongxiu. The consequences would be even worse. After much thought, Rongjin could only clench his teeth and admit it. I know my mistake. I just wanted to test Rongjiu's abilities, and I didn't have any murderous intentions. Father, please understand. However, I was rash and made a big mistake. Father, please punish me. Emperor Jiawen stared at him solemnly. Cultivation time always passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, Chu Luiyue had already stayed in the academy for 5 days. In these few days, she gradually understood the various classes in the academy and started to get used to life in the academy. Actually, most of the students chose their own classes and the teachers wouldn't force them. In addition, Chu Luiyue cultivated a few classes, so she had more freedom when it came to time. Other than going to Geo Tower to cultivate for 2 hours every day and occasionally attending a few classes, Chu Luiyue spent most of her time cultivating in her own residence. After the first day, such a situation didn't happen in Geo Tower again. However, Chu Luiyue still felt that there was a pair of eyes secretly staring at her. After serious consideration, she didn't ask Elder Yi about this matter. She felt that this had something to do with the mysterious water droplet in her body. However, Rongxiu didn't come again. Chu Luiyue finally returned to her bed to rest, but she could still smell the faint fragrance of peach blossoms, which made her think of this person from time to time. Chu Luiyue originally wanted to move next door, but when she thought of how she always seemed to sleep exceptionally well with this faint aura around, she could only give up on the idea. On this day, Chu Luiyue entered Geo Tower to cultivate as usual and left after 2 hours. When she came out, she coincidentally bumped into Mu Hongyu. Chu Luiyue nodded and greeted her, but she didn't expect Mu Hongyu to follow her. I heard that you come here to cultivate every day. Chu Luiyue chuckled. You always hear a lot of news. Really? You're so extravagant? Mu Hongyu gasped, and she couldn't hide the envy in her eyes. That's true. You have 38 hours. Even if you come here every day, you can last for more than half a month. Unlike me, who works so hard to earn 4 hours, and I have to use it sparingly. Chu Luiyue's heart skipped a beat. How do you earn this time? You don't know? That's true. You just came to the academy, so you naturally don't know much about this. There are many ways to earn time for cultivation. I'll tell you slowly in the future. However, I have to ask you something first. The demonic beast tide is coming. Who are you in the same group as? Chapter 115. Fiend title? Chu Luiyue was confused. You don't know about this? Every year at the end of August, there will be a fiend title in Wanling Mountain. Countless fiends will fight to go there, and many of them are mid-stage fiends. If you're lucky, there will be high-level fiends. This is a great opportunity to hunt fiends, so the elders from the academy will lead the team there every year. The students are free to form teams. After entering Wanling Mountain, everyone will move in groups. The level of fiends you can hunt will depend on your own abilities. Mu Hongyu explained. Chu Luiyue suddenly understood. The original owner seemed to have a vague impression of this because the crown prince, Rongjin, personally hunted a 4th-grade fiend, a red-eyed fire leopard, during the fiend title a year ago. When this matter spread, Rongjin was in the limelight for a while. Everyone knew that the crown prince was very powerful and could even hunt such a ferocious beast personally. One had to know that 1st grade to 3rd grade fiends were considered low-level fiends. 4th grade to 6th grade fiends were intermediate-level fiends. As for the legendary 9th grade fiends, they were considered high-level fiends that only existed in rumors. Even though a 4th grade fiend was only 1 grade higher than a 3rd grade fiend, the difference was like night and day. However, Chu Luiyue had been busy cultivating these few days, so she did not pay much attention to this matter. Mu Hongyu told her this. You want to team up with me? Asked Chu Luiyue. Yes. Mu Hongyu didn't hide anything and nodded graciously. You're the top warrior and a Xian master. You're considered one of the most capable students in our batch. Who else can I look for but you? But don't worry, I won't drag you down. I should be able to break through and become a stage 4 warrior in half a month. Chu Luiyue was not worried about this. During the previous midterm assessment, Mu Hongyu lost to Gu Mingfeng and came in 3rd place. With this kind of ability, she was definitely considered an expert. Sure, let's move together then. If you have other people who invited him so you can also pull them over that he had no reason 5 people in a group. We the still fact need that Chu Luiyue agreed so readily thought surprised Mu Hongyu. It's up to you. You really agree? She was not very familiar with these people. What's wrong with that? So she might as well leave it to Mu Hongyu. It's just that those Xian masters heard always looked down on us. She immediately felt that Chu Luiyue trusted her a lot, so we rarely team up better impression of her. You're considered a member of the Xian. There was a meditation class in the afternoon. Won't they criticize you if you team up with me like this? She saw Gu Mingzhu standing outside the door. Chu Luiyue could not help but laugh. Gu Mingzhu's expression was really childish. Chu Luiyue walked over. Strength reigned supreme. Second Miss Gu, why would they care about? Did you bring those 2 Xian formation diagrams today? Mu Hongyu smiled. Gu Mingzhu's expression turned even uglier. Her almond-shaped 2 Xian formation diagrams from her sleeves. Good. And through them. It settled at Chu Luiyue. Isn't it just Xian formation diagrams? What's there to rush? I'll give them to you. Chu Luiyue caught the items lightly and opened them to take a look. After confirming that they were level 5 Xian formation diagrams, she curled her lips and said with a smile, Second Miss Gu also said that now that I've left the Chu family, my status is indeed not that high. 2 level 5 Xian formation diagrams are very precious, so I naturally value them. Unlike Second Miss Gu, who can easily take out this thing as a wager. Gu Mingzhu was so angry that her face turned pale. She did not dare to tell the patriarch about this. Even if she was very favored in the Gu family, the patriarch would definitely not forgive her if he knew. However, Chu Luiyue urged her every day when she saw her, and even said that if she did not give them to her, she would personally go to the Gu family to ask for them. How could Gu Mingzhu allow her to torment her like this? She could only privately beg her mother to give them to her. Because of this, she was even severely reprimanded. Now that she saw Chu Luiyue smiling so happily, she felt so sullen in her heart that she wanted to die. Chu Luiyue, I'll remember you this time. You better pray that you don't fall into my hands in the future. Otherwise, you'll suffer. Chu Luiyue waved the Xian formation diagrams in her hand. Thank you for your concern, Second Miss Gu. If you have any more good gifts, Liu will be very grateful. Gu Mingzhu was so angry that she almost died. Due to the fact that class was about to start and there were more and more people coming, she could only temporarily suppress her anger. She glared fiercely at Chu Luiyue and turned to enter the room. Chu Luiyue did not care and followed her in. Everyone in the room was in groups of 3 to 5 and seemed to be discussing something. Chu Luiyue had just sat down in her seat when she saw Si Yang waving at her. Hey, Death Change, Chu Luiyue, why don't you team up with us for the Devil Beast Tide? So everyone was talking about this. Chu Luiyue shook her head. I've already agreed to team up with someone else. Thank you for your kindness. What? Someone already made a move first? Who is it? Si Yang was unhappy when he heard this. Mu Hongyu. Si Yang was stunned for a moment and bitterly lamented. Mu Hongyu? That Chao Dian Jiao? Are you kidding me? You, me, and my brother will be the top 3 Xian masters. We'll definitely be invincible. Why are you with her? Also, she's a warrior. I'm a warrior too. Chu Luiyue glanced at him. Is there a rule that says warriors and Xian masters can't team up together? Si Yang was speechless. No, but everything was planned well. But why was Mu Hongyu so fast? We've already gathered 4 people, and you're the only one left. If you don't come, what are we going to do? Chu Luiyue shook her head inwardly when she heard this. If it was just Si Yang and Si Ting, she could discuss it with Mu Hongyu. But it would be troublesome if there were 4 people. Also, she did not want to have too much contact with Si Ting, so this was good. I promised Mu Hongyu that I can't go back on my word. Sorry. Chu Luiyue took out the chessboard after she finished speaking. It was obvious that she had no intention of continuing the conversation. Si Yang glanced at Si Ting dejectedly. Si Ting's expression did not change. If that's the case, let's find someone else. Siyang sighed inwardly. He could tell that his brother was interested in Chu Luiyue. He wanted to use the magical beast tide to give his brother a chance. Unfortunately, Si Ting, can I join you guys? I haven't teamed up with anyone yet. Gu Mingzhu had been listening to their conversation. Seeing this opportunity, she immediately spoke up and looked at Si Ting hopefully. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 116. Xiong glanced at her from the corner of his eyes. No, with Gu Mingzhu's temper, it would be very troublesome to team up with her. Moreover, couldn't she tell that Big Brother was not interested in her at all? Gu Mingzhu felt her face burning after being rejected so directly in front of everyone. She looked at Si Ting pitifully, but Si Ting did not even look at her. His expression was indifferent, as if he did not care at all. Gu Mingzhu felt even more upset. She felt a fire surging in her chest, burning her whole body. She bit her lower lip and suppressed her urge to fly into a rage. However, his jealousy and hatred toward Chu Luiyue increased by another level. Why did they take the initiative to invite Chu Luiyue, but she was rejected when she took the initiative to invite him? Chu Luiyue threw away the things that he wished for like a pair of worn-out shoes. She did not believe that Chu Luiyue could continue to be so smug. Dongfang Qing quickly walked in. The discussions in the room immediately became much quieter. Dongfang Qing chuckled as he looked at everyone. It seems like all of you are looking forward to the Fiend Tide. There is still half a month to go, and you are already itching to take action? Teacher Dongfang, it is rumored that high-level fiends will appear during the Fiend Tide. Is that true? A student asked curiously. Dongfang Qing stroked his beard. During the Fiend Tide, hundreds and thousands of fiends will gather at Wanling Mountain. If you are lucky, you can indeed see a high-level fiend. The moment he said that, many students' eyes lit up. They could not hide the excitement in their eyes. If cultivators can successfully hunt fiends, it will undoubtedly increase their combat power greatly. The higher the level, in most cases, once a magical beast is abandoned, especially for Xian masters like us, whose physical everyone nodded and is slightly weaker. Even though this magical if we have a fiend, we will not have to worry. It seems to have Xian some masters had a higher status than warriors, but they also had a weakness. Once a magical beast, they were not good at close combat. Especially when setting up Xian formations, and dying, they needed time and energy. Therefore, at this time comes for you to, if they had a fiend's help, beasts, it would be like you must be extremely cautious and choose carefully. Compared to martial artists, the students are all very mystic excited. Cultivators were more interested. Chu Luiyue looked at the chessboard in front of him. Some of you already have your own suddenly stopped, but most of you do and die together. You can take this opportunity to find a suitable. After she died, all right. If you take advantage of these 10 days, you can also get a try. Cultivate diligently. Teacher Dongfang, you will only be able to cultivate higher level magical beasts. Magical beast strength increases. Not bad. Today's magic beasts were ruthless, on the water formation, but they were also Dongfang Qing. They would never serve the same. And the chess pieces flew out. If you want to hunt new magical beasts, new pattern on the chess, you have to release. Chu Luiyue lowered his eyes and collected his thoughts. However, once a magical beast Chu Luiyue was a little absent-minded. Even though his eyes were fixed on the scent of the human, many scenes even if kept appearing in his mind. It would be rejected in her previous life as the heavenly princess. She naturally had her own magical beast. However, when she died, it happened to be on the verge of a breakthrough and fell into a deep slumber. At that time, She was betrayed and was in a desperate situation, so she could only choose to leave. However, before she took action, she had already placed it in place. She didn't know what the situation was like after that. Country Yao Chun was extremely far away from the Tianling dynasty. Given her current status and strength, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for her to obtain any information, let alone return. She was afraid that she could only wait for the so-called envoy to come and find out the truth. Chu Luiyue, haven't you solved it yet? More than 2 hours later, Si Yang solved the Xin formation. When he turned around, he realized that Chu Luiyue was still staring at the chessboard in front of him motionlessly. The previous few times, she solved the Xin formation after Si Ting passed. Everyone was shocked and doubtful at the beginning, but now they were used to it. They didn't expect him to be second this time. He was ranked in front of Chu Luiyue. Chu Luiyue snapped out his days. At this moment, Gu Mingzhu also solved the Xin formation, and the chess pieces fell into the chess jar. She glanced at Chu Luiyue and sneered. TSK. The long road reveals the horse's strength. Whether you're really capable or not, you will know in time. Chu Luiyue couldn't be bothered with her sarcastic attitude. He lowered his head and finally started to place his chess pieces. Her movements were very fast and smooth, as if she didn't need to think at all. After a few steps, the Xin formation was solved. Then, without looking at the surprised looks of the people around
tomorrow
her,
is a holiday.
she stood up. So you can
Miss
go home
Dongfang,
earlier today.
can I leave after class?
Dong Fangqin could also tell that something was wrong with Chu Luiyue, so he quickly agreed. Chu Luiyue thanked him and left. Gu Mingzhu said coldly, "What is there to be proud of?" Si Ting raised his eyes to take a look, but all he saw was the corner of her clothes fluttering away. What is wrong with her? In his impression, Chu Luiyue was always calm and composed, as if nothing could shake her. To be able to cut ties with the Chu family so easily and establish her own family, Chu Luiyue was definitely more powerful than she looked. This was the first time he saw her lose her composure. Si Ting turned around and looked at the chessboard that was already set up. He frowned slightly. If he remembered correctly, Chu Luiyue seemed to have only taken one look and placed a chess piece. Tianlu Academy had a holiday once every 5 days. Chu Luiyue packed up and went home. Chu Ning was not back yet, so Chu Luiyue had dinner by herself and rested in her room. Just as she lay down on the wooden chair, a strange sound came from outside the window. Chu Luiyue looked over and saw a huge white head pushing open the window and peeking in. A pair of icy blue eyes stared straight at her. It was Shui Shui. Chu Luiyue laughed as she looked at it. The window was not big, and its head took up almost half of it. "Shui Shui, why are you here?" With that, Chu Luiyue walked over. Shui Shui put its paws on her hand and looked at her pitifully. God knows how busy it had been outside these few days. She missed it so much. Coming quickly, Chu Luiyue patted its head and took a step back. Shui Shui was so excited that it wanted to rush in. Suddenly, the sound of a wooden board breaking was heard. It immediately paused, and its expression was a little stiff. Chu Luiyue looked around and saw that the edge of the window had cracked. Her eyes twitched. Stuck. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 117. Shui Shui looked at Chu Luiyue blankly. It didn't know what to do. Its huge head was stuck in the window. It looked very funny. It's already broken anyway. Just come in. Chu Luiyue held her forehead. She waved at it, annoyed and amused at the same time. With Shue's size, it was already difficult for it to come in through the window. In addition, its physical strength was extremely strong. It only needed to move a little to destroy the wooden board. Seeing that Chu Luiyue wasn't angry, Shui was relieved. It jumped into Chu Luiyue's arms. Chu Luiyue caught it and steadied herself with great difficulty. The soft and fluffy body in her arms made Chu Luiyue's originally depressed mood turn for the better. She weighed Shui in her arms and was a little surprised. Shui, you seem to have lost weight. Compared to the first time they met, it seemed to be a little smaller. Shui rubbed against her face affectionately. Chu Luiyue kept moving back from the itch. All right. Shui, stop fooling around. It's ticklish. Shui pestered her for a long time before it stopped. It lay down by her feet obediently. Its tail kept wagging, looking very obedient. Chu Luiyue couldn't help but smile. If others saw this scene, they would probably think that Shui was her magical beast. Thinking of this, Chu Luiyue's mood became a little strange. It was strange. Rongxiu was Shui's master, but it seemed to be very close to her. From the first time they met until now, Chu Luiyue had an inexplicable sense of closeness to Shui. It was as if she felt from the bottom of her heart that it wouldn't hurt her. Magical beasts were fierce, especially high-level magical beasts like this. They were extremely proud. Logically speaking, they wouldn't be polite to anyone other than their master. But Shui, I haven't seen you recently. Where have you been, Chu Luiyue stroked its fur and asked casually. Shui closed its eyes comfortably. When its master was here, when had it ever enjoyed such pleasure? It wasn't a waste that it had been running around outside for the past few days. Chu Luiyue didn't mind seeing Shui enjoying herself as if she didn't hear him at all. At this moment, with Shui by her side, her loneliness was dispelled. Chapter 131. You and your master are things that come to this. Everyone decided to rest where they and opened an eye to glance Mu Hongyu went to start a fire, tapped its wet and the group sat around it, with a waiting for their teacher's arrival. They all found some herbs near other people's houses in the middle of the night. Shui closed her eyes, temporarily stopping the bleeding, and rubbed her head. The others were more or less injured. Chu Luiyue distributed the herbs. His shameless look was even more like, you finally. She applied the remaining Chuning's voice suddenly came from outside the door. The pain that had just subsided was stimulated by happily got up to open causing the door, her to frown. But Shui was someone walked over her. Chu Luiyue looked up her body and saw Gu Mingfeng. She jumped out of the window just now. The crack on the already broken window leaped, became shown on Gu Mingfeng's face, making his expression look even more obscure and unclear. Chu Luiyue shook her head. It's not worth mentioning. That Wolf King is powerful. You and I are no match for it alone. We can only win if we work together. Fortunately, we were lucky. Gu Mingfeng looked at her, many thoughts flashing through his mind. Chu Luiyue said it casually, but in that life-and-death struggle, the slightest carelessness could have cost them their lives. But Chu Luiyue didn't hesitate at all, especially when he thought he was going to die under the Wolf King's fangs. If not for Chu Luiyue's timely appearance, he would be worse than Liao Zhongshu. She saved his life, but she didn't seem to care. Was there really such a selfless person in this world? Chu Luiyue sensed that Gu Mingfeng hadn't left, so she looked up at him and saw the surging emotions in his eyes. Gu Mingfeng frowned and immediately looked away. Chu Luiyue smiled inwardly. She had seen too many scheming people in her previous life. She could see through Gu Mingfeng's thoughts at a glance. Perhaps because of his background, he was a little gloomy and sensitive, and he subconsciously distrusted everyone. Even though they were in the same team, Chu Luiyue believed that Gu Mingfeng had never cared about their lives. The main reason he was willing to deal with the Wolf King was because he wanted to save his own life. I saved you out of convenience. You don't have to take it to heart. In that kind of situation, if it was anyone else, I would have taken action. Chu Luiyue said indifferently. Gu Mingfeng was shocked. Only then did she realize that her thoughts had been seen through by Chu Luiyue. He frowned and felt a little uncomfortable. He turned around and planned to leave. After taking a step forward, he stopped. No matter what, I owe you one this time. After he finished speaking, he walked to a spot far away and sat down. He closed his eyes and adjusted his breathing. Chulua looked at him thoughtfully. His impression of him improved a little. Gu Mingfeng was much better than his half-sister, Gu Mingzhu. After waiting for about an hour, teacher Wen Yin, who was leading the team, finally arrived. He looked travel-worn, and there were sporadic bloodstains on his body, as if he had just been through a fight.